All right, looks like we're live. And if you're here with me live, let me know. If you're on the replay, hit me with hashtag replay so that, well, I know that these videos are reaching the people they're meant to help. I'm Melanie McCool, and today we're going to be talking about why empaths are more prone to burnout. We'll be talking about what the qualities of an empath are, both their kind of innate qualities and then the behaviors that make burnout more probable. And we're also going to discuss the origin, why somebody becomes an empath, and then how you can protect your energy and change the behaviors so that you can bring your life around to the way that you want it to be. Bounce back from burnout and essentially come back stronger than ever before. I'm Melanie McCool. I'm the Entrepreneur's hypnotherapist and peak performance coach. I'm also the founder of Program for Prosperity. And when women come to my practice and they are a heart-centered entrepreneur with a desire to make great impact in the world, and yet they're burning out, they are negative, they're starting to feel lots of negative emotions around their business, exhausted, overwhelmed, can't see what the next right steps are, and essentially their productivity is in the dumps. And they may not even realize that they have a lot of qualities of an empath. And these qualities and the behaviors that go hand in hand with that are things that I've learned to identify and, well, to really build a protocol up around helping people like that. And they may not know that they're empaths, because this word empath is more likely to be used in conversation that's sort of spiritual in nature, right? So this idea that as an empath, you are more intuitive, that you've kind of been given this gift that helps you to help other people, actually, to be, and you might consider this a gift, right? Well, I'm going to be talking to you about how this gift is most often bestowed, and you might not see it as such a gift in terms of its origin. The outcome, yes, if you learn how to work with it properly. And so first, what is an empath? An empath is essentially defined as someone who is at the far end of the spectrum. Of course, somebody with no empathy would be, a sociopath, a psychopath, narcissistic. That's the idea. They have no empathy, no feeling for other people, right? That's the other side. And then you come along the spectrum of people, and there's most of the population, most of the world. Then there's highly sensitive people and empaths. And a highly sensitive person is someone who essentially has all of their nervous system is kind of turned way up, right? So they're really impacted by sound, noise, movement, people. These are the kind of people who will basically say that, I've actually had people come to my practice who were wearing glasses and earplugs and got there kind of in their own cocoon, like dissociating from the world, right? Getting to get to my practice. That's highly sensitive people. And lots of people do function like that too. They don't necessarily end up in that state before they get to me. And then add to that, an empath is defined by the ability to tune into other people's emotions or vibes. And maybe not even ability to tune into. It's almost like until you learn how to, it's almost like you can't not tune in, okay? So in this state, the qualities of an empath are the first thing that actually can make burnout more likely. Because if you're in this state of kind of hyperarousal, right? Your nervous system dysregulated because you're in a state of hypervigilance. So essentially scanning your environment all the time to make sure you're safe. That's exhausting. It's like you're running on next to empty before you even went out into the world to begin. Okay, so that the hyperarousal, the hypervigilance is the first reason why empaths are more prone to burnout, is because we're kind of running on an anxiety treadmill before you even get to function. And I give this example is that if you are always running on this kind of anxiety, hypervigilance, as if you're, fearful all the time, and then you don't have the energy resources, so that if the tiger actually shows up, that is, you're actually having to deal with something stressful in the world, you're done, you're out, you're taken out. Okay, so the first thing we work with, and we'll get to this, is actually bringing that level of anxiety down, that taking that hypervigilance out of the picture, and bringing the sense of peace to the body and the mind. But I'm getting ahead of myself. So, first reason, hypervigilance, all the time. No reserves when the tiger actually comes. Okay. The second is this. It's related to, if you have this intuition, this feeling of intuition. And I have a definition of intuition that may be very different from the spiritual community. And I have been studying the spiritual community and all these things since I was a very little girl. But I now think that intuition is actually more of the sum total of all the wisdom that we've gained over our life. And not just our lives, but perhaps the wisdom that's held in our genes and what's been passed to us. And so this intuition, this ability to see more than other people can see, and to have these the input, the nudges, the things that come in a lot, that also can be very stimulating. And so that hyper arousal can actually exacerbate burnout as well. And the third reason that empaths are more prone to burnout has to do with behavior. See, empath is more likely to be the type of person who feels like they've got to take care of other people. If you can feel other people's emotions, then there's this propensity to want to help, right? And when that goes to overgiving, whether it's in people pleasing or codependency, or if you're in a work situation and you're giving, corporations are, perfect. They gotta love an empath because they're likely to work all hours of the day and night to overgive, right? That in itself, these habits are absolutely the habits of overworking that will lead to burnout. And then there is what I term escapism. Escapism from the overfeeling and or the negative emotions. So an escapism absolutely makes burnout worse. So if you're feeling too much, then you might escape into alcohol, drug use, shopping, gambling. There's all different ways that people will essentially try to numb their feelings. Food addiction, right? Sex addictions. Trying to numb your feelings. And the problem with this isn't just that it's exhausting, toxic, and not good for the body, but it's also bad for the mind. If you're trying to numb, right, and then you're doing a behavior that is actually guilt and shame inducing, you've now added a whole nother level of, the negative biochemistry that runs the downward spiral into burnout. And so given this being overwhelmed by the extreme sensitivity, the tendency to overgive, overdo, be a people pleaser, codependence, all of this and then the propensity for addictions. It's no wonder, right, that a empath is far more prone to burnout. But how did this happen in the first place? Now, again, this empath story given as a kind of gift, I think that in my experience and what I've seen after working with more than 500 clinical clients, the origin of it has more often been as a result of exposure to childhood trauma than some gift that's given. Now, if you read about empaths and stuff, they'll say, well, they were probably empathic first and then they had to deal with this, and so that's the outcome. Maybe they were a highly sensitive person first, because that can be, kind of innate. As a hypnotherapist, I can also turn that stuff right down. So how much of that is genes and how much is an environmental response is the question. We don't ask that in hypnotherapy. We just use the protocol that helps the person to be free of what they're dealing with. So what's the origin? Origin of childhood trauma. If you consider that a child who is raised in an environment where they're perhaps with an alcoholic or drug abusing parent, or someone who suffers from anxiety, mental illness of any kind, depression, there is this survival mechanism that kicks in to make sure that they're safe. And so that's where the hypervigilance comes from in the first place. So if you were as a child raised in an environment where you never felt safe, or you didn't feel safe in significantly, repeatedly, as we call CPTSD ultimately, then you're far more likely to be an adult walking around not even realizing that you're scanning the environment constantly to remain safe. And you developed an incredible acuity for identifying how people are feeling. And it doesn't have to even be a look on their face. It can literally be the way they breathe, or what we call their vibe. Because you've got to know how somebody's being to remain safe when you're a child. On top of that, if you were living with somebody like that, then it becomes your job, often enough, to serve them. This is what we call fawning. So that's the overgiving piece, right? And if you're fawning, that is to essentially keep yourself safe so you don't, end up a victim in the scenario again, or, then that fawning is where the overgiving, the people pleasing, if you were taking care of somebody else for when you should have been the one being taken care of, that those qualities can develop. Behaviors, rather, not qualities. Those are behaviors. On the other hand, there's also the overworking. Overworking is a childhood trauma response that is a fight response. Okay? Get me the heck out of here. I'm going to work until I can escape. And if any of this is landing with you, gosh, please just give me something. Because I think that when somebody first told me I was an empath, and they were telling me it was like some kind of gift from, I think I was like, I think I know the origin of that. I had to read people I had to really read people. Oh, and then when I learned about fawning, I was like, oh, that's what I've been doing my whole life. Give and give and give, and forgive and forgive and forgive over and over again. Where might you learn that? All of this stuff. Yeah, so getting a little insight in here to the layers that can be really involved with someone's burnout. It's not just that they're overworking and they're stressed. There can be very many more layers here. And so, given that the qualities of being that are that can be very much, wired into the nervous system, into the, the essentially into the primitive brain. This was, you learned these behaviors before you were even 7, most likely. So that it seems like it's just who you are, right? I'm here to tell you that's not who you are. If today you live in a relatively safe place, then we can work together to help you to turn down the, if you've got hyper acuity and you're a highly sensitive person, we can turn that stuff down. And we can absolutely help you to install a beautiful boundary and to enforce boundaries, stop the habits of overgiving, people pleasing, codependence, and break the habits of addiction that you may have been using without even knowing why, to try to quiet what you were feeling, and then what you were feeling as a result of the outcomes in your life. And if that is something that you are resonating with, if it feels like something you'd really love to learn more about, then it would be my honor to help you to learn how my 5-step method to accelerate your business growth without burnout can be personalized to your life, to your experience, to what has brought you to this place. Because if you show up as a heart-centered entrepreneur with an impact, with a desire to do something that is absolutely going to bless other people, then I'll do everything with you that will help you to break those chains of the past, to break the habits that would lead you down a road where you might actually be taken out of your business completely. Because ultimately, I believe that more than 75% of businesses fail. And it's not just because of bad business decisions and stuff. It's also because people don't know how to grow a business without burning out completely, where it takes you out mentally and physically, and there's really nothing to do but to step out of the picture. So let's fix this before it's too late, because whatever that dream, that desire, that vision you have in your heart is meant to bless other people. And so let me connect with you and have this conversation that would help you to move in the direction of your dreams and help you to bring your life around essentially to the way you want it to be. And if you'd like to have that conversation, book a call. There's actually some beautiful, there's coots is what they are right here. If you'd like to have that conversation, let's book a call. Let's have a conversation before it's too late. I'll help you to use your empathic abilities in a way that bless you and other people and no longer drain you. Alrighty, so with that, I'm Melanie McCool, and I look forward to speaking with you and helping you to bounce back from burnout stronger than before. All right, have a beautiful day. You deserve it. Bye-bye. Oh, drop your comments, please. I will answer every single one.